I've been married to my wife for about 20 years. This year marked the 20th anniversary of our marriage. Something happened to make me take some action, and my wife tried to take her own life as a result of the nasty crimes that she committed against me. Let us imagine that my wife's name is Ariella, and she's 40 years old. I'm Jodie. I'm 42 years old. As early as we can remember, we were married. I can honestly say that it was the love at first sight when we met for the first time in a church. In a very short period of time, we became involved in each other's lives. As far as I know, I have never been in a relationship before she became the only one for me. There was a lot of love between us. Finally, it ends with getting married and having a happy family. As a couple, we struggled quite a bit in the beginning of a few years, but we were both adamant that we would work hard and grow together as a couple. In addition to that, it was our decision not to have any children. Therefore, if we need to adopt at any point of our lives, we will do so. It was for this purpose that I had a vasectomy. Nevertheless, 19 years of our life were among the best years of our lives, so we had no problems with each other or with our finances during that time. Despite the fact that we still do not have our own house, we were living in a rented apartment. As a result of many years of saving, we were able to purchase a house for us after a long period of time. Our patience and hard work paid off when we both made the decision to relocate here, and it was well worth the effort. As soon as that happened, problems began to arise. After 2 weeks of shifting, we are now in our new location. I don't know what happened to Ariella, but the way in which she behaved suddenly changed. It may be that she had some issues at the time. There were a few issues like not having any interaction with others, not making meals for me, not cleaning the house, and random mood swings which I was afraid might be the result of a psychological condition. Her sister came to visit her, so she suggested I consult a psychologist. It was a bit challenging to afford a psychologist, but I managed to get her there in the end. She then began her therapy sessions and looked forward to seeing her therapist. I believe that after 2 months of therapy for her, she had improved a lot, and she was now a happy and optimistic person. It was after this that she began to take on new hobbies in an attempt to become more engaged in her life. I was returning from work one day when I noticed a man sitting on the lawn of my house. As I approached him, I asked him a few questions. It is important to understand where he comes from and what he needs. According to him, Miss Ariella had hired him and he was a gardener. In order to get to the bottom of why Ariella hired him, I went to her and asked her. The lady said that she wanted to take care of the garden, and in order to do that, she needs to hire a gardener. I said to her there is no need to hire a gardener. In spite of this, she did not give up and said that she had hired him and couldn't ask him to go home because she had hired him. In accordance with her wish, I complied with her request. Upon returning home a few days later, I found both of them drinking tea and laughing in the garden as they were enjoying the beautiful weather. As I was surprised to see this, I went to Ariella and asked her if they were familiar with each other prior to hiring being made. According to her, he is a relative of my brother who is also the neighbor of my sister. My next question was to ask Ariella why she did not tell me before. In the statement, she said that she forgot to inform me. While I had not seen any suspicious behavior, my heart and my brain were still not satisfied with the interaction between the two of them. The man was 6 feet tall with a physique similar to that of a weightlifter. It seems that she was being too frank with him in a short period of time. I don't know why. Despite the fact that sometimes she invited him inside for lunch, she never made it a habit to do so. Additionally, he started getting her flowers from time to time as well. There is no doubt that etiquettes are another thing, but I find their behavior disturbing. One day it was a Sunday, and on Sundays I used to get up late because it was one of the only days I had to relax at home, as it was my only free time. As soon as I woke up in the morning, when I went to the washroom, there was a small window from where I could see the garden area. When I got up from my poop, I noticed that Gardner was holding Ariella's hand and they were doing something that I couldn't see clearly. My eyes opened and I went to them and asked, "What's going on?" After he had dropped her hand, Ariella asked me, "What do you want me to do?" When I said that I had seen him holding your hand, what exactly both of you were doing. "Why?" She began to tell me that he was teaching me how to dig the ground in preparation for planting. "Don't be silly, Geordie," she said to me. "Besides being our gardener, he is nothing else." It was the same day that I ignored her again due to the fact that her reason was also valid. As I was talking to her about this in the middle of the night, she started fighting with me, saying that I was doubting her. It wasn't a secret to me that she had a history of mental disturbances, so I did not say anything to her about it. It was just a matter of stepping out of the room. I did not even hear anything from her for the next 2 days. In addition, she began to use her cell phone in an excessive manner as well. Whenever I tried to speak with her, she would get up and go to another room or to the garden. Apparently, it was once that I picked up her cell phone and she made a very big deal about it. She fought with me and made false accusation against me for picking up her cell phone and fighting with her. The way she behaved was getting to me and I was getting fed up with it. Even so, I loved her so much that I tolerated it for the past 20 years because I adored her. There was a lot of suspicion here when it came to the actual facts. It was then, after a period of 2 weeks, that it occurred. As soon as I arrived home, I found both of them. I looked at her. I noticed that he had his hand on the abdomen of the woman. I grabbed him away with my hands and kicked him away in anger as I went close to him. It was at this point that I started screaming and asking him why he was holding my wife in his arms. It was a surprise to me when Ariella said let him go. The only thing he was doing was helping me in the kitchen. "There is something wrong with your understanding." I said, "You always do this. It is obvious that you don't know what you're doing. I don't want to hear from you again. I've always been wrong for you and you have always preferred him over me." That's what I said to her. It made me so angry on her that she made such a statement. Gardner apologized to me for what he had done. Then again, that was pointless. I need my wife to apologize to me for what she did. The only reason I was able to bear all this was because her psychologist advised me to give her free hand and let her do whatever she wants to do. Anyway, that night she came to me and held my hand and started crying and apologized to me for what she had done. It made my heart melt and I accepted her apology with open arms. After that, it became physical that night. To tell you the truth, it was a very exciting experience for me since I had a long time ago. In order to make her happy, I had cleaned my mind. This happened after 4 days of waiting. I returned to my home after getting back from my travels. Again, after going to the washroom, I saw a packet in the toilet compartment. I thought maybe it had not been flushed when I stepped into the washroom. After looking at it for a few minutes, I came to the following conclusion. It was something suspicious that I noticed. In my opinion, that was the worst situation I have ever been in. The fact that she was at home and that Gardner came home every day to her home was obvious. At that moment, I became more convinced than I ever was before that they were engaging in some form of intimate activity. It seemed to me that I should keep an eye on them at all times. This is the reason why I bought spy cameras for the purpose. In spite of the fact that they were too expensive, I bought them anyway. My home has been installed with this system. From my office, I began to check the recordings that had been made. The fact that I was in the office, but my whole attention was absorbed by the recordings that were being played. There was also our 20th anniversary coming up on the start of the week, and Ariella said she wanted a party, so she was preparing for it as well. During that time, it was a day or two before the anniversary party. During my time in the office, I was able to see both of them walking into the room. After a few seconds, I saw Ariella and Gardner being to remove their clothes from their bodies. Watching this made me feel frozen. I was in a state of shiver while watching it. There was a moment when I thought my head was going to explode. It wasn't long before I called her again. I noticed that she was panting, and then I asked her what she was doing. She told me that she was sweating. As soon as I asked this question, I cut off the call. I was feeling like a coward in something, but I had to show her that that is what I was, regardless of how I felt. Then I took that recording and waited for the party to start so I could do what I have decided. We were having a party for our anniversary and everyone was coming to celebrate. Upon returning home, I go to room to rest. Even though I wasn't ready for that moment, I felt as if I had died at that moment. As a result, I had lost the ability to feel anything at all. As I sat at the table in front of her, I was having dinner while she was watching me. After a few minutes of laughing, I said to Ariella, "Think for a moment that you received a video from an unknown number." My wife asked me that what video I had, and I replied that I had a video of me in bed with a woman. So what do you think of that? As soon as she heard that, she was shocked. According to her, both you and the woman who would be in bed with you would be killed by me. Then I said to her, "Ariella, you know, I also have the same punishment for you as well. This punishment will be imposed upon you when I discover you sleeping with someone else." Suddenly, she was frozen like a block of ice. It seemed that her eyes were telling her that she was quite a guilty person. After asking her what she thought, she was struck, so I asked her again, "What do you think? How should I proceed? What should I do next?" There was no response from her. I laughed and said, "Look at the terror on your face. It looks like you've cheated on me." She replied in a nervous tone of voice, "No, honey, you're crazy. Do you know what I mean?" Then I said, "Oh no, I have complete trust on you. On the other hand, if you'll try to cheat on me, then I'll be very upset. I would like you to keep in mind that what you've said. If you would like me to do the same or something special for you, please let me know." In an awkward manner, she laughed out loud. As the day of the party drew near, it was time to celebrate. It did not take long for guests to start arriving at the party. In front of all of them, everyone was waiting for both to arrive so that we could speak to them. In the meantime, I got her to our bedroom and showed her the recording of her infidelity. In a state of astonishment, she stared at him. In my conversation with her, I told her that I would show the video to her family as soon as possible. It was a terrifying experience for her. As soon as she saw me showing it to anyone, she started begging me not to show it to anyone. In my opinion, the reason for this is due to the fact that she was very scared of her father when she was a child. There was something a bit religious about him. Anyhow, I told her that I would make sure that everyone knew about it. Having made a decision, I would like to share it with you. In my mind, I remind her that she had said that if she found me with someone, she would kill me. As a result, I cannot kill you, but this video will kill you every time you watch it until your death. With her dragged along with me, I exited the room while dragging her with me. Once I had reached down to the ground, I played the video for everyone to see. This was the moment when she started begging me to forgive her, as well as her father came and started yelling and screaming, as well as her mother. In the end, I told her father to get her along with them as soon as possible. It was impossible for me to live with her. In the end, I had to drag her from my house since she did not seem to want to leave. Then they managed to get her along with them. It was also a very painful experience for me. In spite of all that, I felt satisfied with the work I had done, at least in my heart. As soon as her father and mother came to me, they asked me if I could forgive her because she was not mentally okay at the time, while the actual culprit was that gardener who had caused that condition. Moreover, they also said that she was becoming more and more insane with each passing day. There was only one thing left to do, and that was to forgive her, as she had a deep guilt that was killing her inside. It was their last attempt to convince me, but I made the final decision that I could not get her back despite their efforts. It was my request that they leave me alone and not disturb me in any way. Several months later, the same thing happened again. I received a call from her father informing me that his daughter had been admitted to a mental hospital. There was no need for me to show them condolences because whatever she did, that was the result. I feel like my heart has died from inside out. I had lost all hopes that I would be able to live. As a matter of fact, I could say that I am just a body without a soul. The one side of the story is that she was not psychologically okay, but despite this, a person cannot compromise their infidelity.